Yeah.
Case of solved.
Yeah. Fighting crime and or evil.
Yeah. So Tom, it should go live as soon as you see it up there. You're good to go. Troy, I've got your report with the letter and
Okay.
and then right into the APPs. So
Sure.
Yeah, we'll have a couple items before you.
Yeah, we just do the agenda.
Okay.
This is when we can sign.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually when we.
Do you see us yet, Karen?
Yep, I can.
Okay, so we've got to be really close.
There it is. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, somebody wish to move as presented? Okay. Any discussion on Judy's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question on the favor. It's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to the minutes of May 24th. Any questions, errors, omissions? If not, somebody wish to move? Barbara? Any discussion on Barbara's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question on the favor. It's carried unanimously again. Okay, moving on to delegation. We have Troy here from the SNP, and so the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thanks for having me here. I just wanted to touch base with everybody, and I'd sent in what's on the slides here so that everybody have a chance to take a look at it before I came, and just a little discussion on this year's annual performance plan, if you can just go back up. And these are kind of the things that we're working on this year. Crime reduction, police community relations, accountability to stakeholders, and enhanced public confidence and engagement. You can see that first one, the crime reduction, it's kind of one where we can fit a whole bunch of different topics and different things into, depending on what is happening in the community. And for example, just to give an example of that, we had our crime reduction unit in town last week, doing some surveillance and some things like that on one of our known targets just outside of town. I can tell you that ended up being successful, and we laid a breach of probation and a bunch of traffic charges against the person. Recovered a stolen truck, about 4 stolen license plates, which seems to be a common theme that's been happening the last couple of weeks here for sure, if not longer. And what we're seeing, the trends we're seeing are they'll steal a plate off of a vehicle, put it on their stolen vehicle, they'll use it for maybe a day or so, then they'll say they'll go to your truck, they'll steal the same kind of truck, they'll steal your plate, put their stolen plate on your truck, and then they'll go and continue on with their crime, so they get a little bit of leeway between when that plate's discovered as stolen. So we're finding some people are getting stolen plates on their vehicle. We had one here in town where it was a person from Palliser School Division, and it was a stolen plate that was on their work truck there too, but I mean it had been part of this whole thing. So I mean the unsuspecting person can be driving around with a stolen plate on their vehicle. We did put out in the Advocate today too, hopefully it gets out there, just for people to be aware of that's going on. You check your license plate every now and then too. Make sure you know what the license plate is, and then check it every now and then to see if yours is still on there. Just so you don't want to get pulled over. Say if you're from here in town, and you're traveling in Calgary, and then you get pulled over because you have a stolen plate. It may not be the best interaction that you have too. So that was one of the things. So that's our crime reduction unit came out. So we had probably about 6 extra bodies here in town, and they came out. They're from Airdrie, but they service our area as well too. So they did promise us they will be back in town again. There's a couple other targets in the area here that they're looking at. So that was our first success. We still have 2 other joint operations that are in the works too. They're in the county as a whole, and when we get any results from that, then I can update you on that as well. And like I was saying, we have had a busy last, probably in all honesty, the last couple of months have been really busy and ramped up quite a bit over the weekend. Of course, with Spock Days and extra people in town too. That got fairly busy for us. You might have seen on the internet too, we did go to a stabbing that occurred out in Champion too. Happy to say that he survived and is on the mend. Our accused is, I think they have court again on the 24th of July. So they were arrested and then released on bail by the JP's office and given a new court date. So that, I think we put it out too. I mean, there was no other suspects or anything like that, so there was no immediate danger to the public or anything like that. We had the person in custody right away. So, and they were known to each other. So yeah, that happened there. Some of our new initiatives, if you can just slide to the next one, is the introduction of the body-worn cameras are finally looking like they're going to be rolled out here. We haven't had any official word on when ours are going to come out, but hopefully it'll be sooner than later.
Let me know where you'd like me to do you have the numbers?
Yeah, just to the brief scroll past that. I can go over some of the other things first. So that's the body-worn cameras. And you'll probably see like the peace officers here in town. I know for sure Justin wears one in the county, and I think that Gabby has one here as well. I think they're a really useful tool, and we're looking forward to having them too. I think it kind of takes away some of those public complaints as well too, and it can help us in our investigations too. So when you have an accused saying that they didn't say this or they said that, it can certainly help with that. Or if a lawyer's fighting the validity of an arrest, they can actually have something to review and see if there is an issue. And if there are issues, then we have it on camera too, that we can take corrective actions with our officers as well. So it works good both ways there. And this is a new app that's come out. I've actually downloaded it to my phone. We've talked about before here, we have the crime mapping out, and this is a direct link to crime mapping, pardon me, in it, as well as some other nice features like this report a crime. So you can actually do it all online now too. So if you're out and instead of waiting on the phone for anything, it's just a couple of clicks and fill it out and you can report whatever you're seeing. Contact a detachment. So if you're in your travels or if you just don't know the number for our detachment, you can look up the detachment in that area and you can get the complaint lines for there. So that's handy. And I would imagine that they do some of the crime trends that we saw or that we see on our stat sheets too. That's part of the app too, so you can kind of see where things are going. And I'm sure they'll add more apps into that as they develop the app as well. But just some of the things that we're trying to kind of keep up with technology too, and use it as best we can. As far as our stats go there, kind of self-explanatory. You can see where some things are increasing. What we see in these kind of times, and we're really seeing it now, is when the economy kind of takes a downturn, our crime rate goes through the roof, and that's what we're starting to see now. And I don't suspect that's going to slow down anytime soon. with the cost of fuel, inflation and things like that. There's lots of people out of work, or lots of people not being able to pay ends meet, so they tend to turn to crime a lot of the times. A lot of the stats in there too, you just have to watch, because it can look like a really large increase, 100% increase, but if you're looking at a crime that maybe we had one of last year and we get 2 this year, then it increases substantially. So instead of the percentages, you almost have to look at the numbers themselves to see. And I just want to give you a brief kind of overview of what happened over the weekend. I'd say all in all, it was as far as for spot days and everything, it's a successful weekend. From our point of view, it wasn't too crazy for us. We had a lot of other stuff going on though. I think with the amount of people in town too, it was more unsuspecting victims, I'll say, than for any of our people traveling through the area. We did get quite a few calls in along the golf course and some from the subdivision for car prowlings, and we did have got some good video from various ones too, so we're getting that out to our analyst now and seeing where that takes us. A lot of times these people aren't from around here and they're traveling through, and you can almost see that in, for example, one of our last stolen vehicles. They had, the person that had it stolen had left their wallet in there too, and we could actually track where they started using their credit card and bank card, and they went over to Net and then up to High River to Oakville. So you can see it start making its way back into the city. So, and that's what we're seeing. We're recovering a lot of vehicles out here too. Most of them are being stolen out of Calgary too. So steal out of Calgary, come do a little crime spree out in the rural area, and then back into Calgary. It seems like the pattern that we see. So we had things, I just took a run of what happened over the weekend. So we had a mischief file, theft over, so that was a stolen vehicle, suspicious person in vehicle, another suspicious person and or vehicle. A theft under, and this was there was multiple files that came in for a car prowlings. And it seems like we had from all our accounts, a Ford F-150 that had like a head of crack on the back that was going through town. Same one that was out, I think in Arrowwood, I believe at the gas pumps out there, or at one of the gas.
Was that Moss Lee?
Was it Moss Lee?
That's what I.
Yeah, whatever was on the internet, we had it either on Facebook or somewhere too, and it looks like that's the same vehicle that's made its way down here. Had a mental health file. Another assisting, so a suspicious male walking along the highway. Theft under, or another theft under from a vehicle, break and enter. Another theft of truck. Another theft, well, 2 more thefts from vehicles. Traffic collision, suspicious person again. Another suspicious person. A no case seizure, which is a drug file where a small baggie of cocaine was found at the Virginia Mitchell campground just in front of the washrooms. Turned in, so it gets destroyed via our drug burns. Then we had 2 more theft of vehicles. Another suspicious person, another theft from a vehicle, another suspicious person, theft of a truck, and 2 more thefts under. So all in all, it was and that's just going from Friday till Monday here. So
It was
weekend. It was busy, yeah.
One of those was one of a town truck got a small table box taken from.
Yeah. But in that same token, that when that one was reported, the neighbor happened to see the person do it too, and describes the truck being that one end of that picture, right? So yeah. So and we have got some some CCTV, so from people's doorbell cameras and things like that. But if we do get any more, or if anybody else has any, we're always open to get more video too. Because sometimes the clarity can't be really good. But, yeah, so the weekend itself was really busy for our guys, so they were running around quite a bit. Still cleaning up a few loose ends from the stabbing which occurred on that Thursday, I believe. Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there. The last couple weeks have been a weather, so. And as we said earlier, our new boat we put in parade.
Looks great. Cool.
Yeah, we've had it out once already. Very unique tool it'll be, and we have some joint training with the. We're trying to arrange with fire, and we have a lady that comes out to do cadaver recovery, and she has a dog that she uses. She came out to Lake McGregor a few years back with us and helped support us there. Total volunteer, and so all of what she does is either by donation or out of her pocket. But she's been great to work with us, and so we're going to do some joint training with her as well.
Does the dog do very good in water?
That's fantastic.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What kind of dog?
The last one she had would have been like a shepherd kind of cross.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. That one got retired, and I'm not sure what dog she has now. But she operates on like a smaller boat, so lower to the water, and the dog just wins from that. So, and then she can coordinate where the dog hits, and opposed to where the wind is, and then with pretty good accuracy, she can say, well, the deceased person is over there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. That's super.
Yeah.
And can you see, do you have cameras that you can kind of see?
Well, now we have our new boat has a side scanning sonar on it too, so now at least we can get an image down there, and then we can look at stuff. We do have a connection for like an ROV and things like that you can send down to look if you need to. But a lot of times those side scan sonars give a good enough picture that you can see what's down there. So, and then put your divers on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's it's a nice tool to have. We just have to get proficient with it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a bit of truth, isn't it? That you have to do some practice, like you said.
Yeah, for sure.
Get the time to put it in and not have to do it under adverse conditions.
Exactly, and I think our relationship here with the fire department is really good, and they are really keen on doing joint training with us too. So that's been a really big asset for us. And that way, because a lot of times we end up with the same calls, especially out in the water, and then we can use each other to cover off stuff. So. If there's any questions on any material too that I brought in.
Any questions for Troy? I had one time we were talking, you thought we might have a chance to get an electric vehicle. Did it ever?
It didn't. I think it's still out there. It's a possibility. The problem that I ran into is we had to give up one of our vehicles too, in order to get it, and I wasn't quite ready to.
I was just curious more than anything. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't heard any, areas that have gone to much for electric, even in the city. Like, I have a son-in-law that's in the police force, and he was saying that they've got very few, other than maybe for non emergency work they use them for, but that's about it.
Well, I know they were testing a bunch of them, and it was in more like your Red Deers or bigger centers like that for us. And so we thought maybe try one out here. The only draw, and just to see how it would work too, with such a large area to cover too.
Yeah. I was just curious. You and I one day talked about it, and I thought, well, I hadn't heard any more.
Listen, the Dukies in the county of the Duke, they were trying, but they were finding that in the winter when they started stretching them out into the far ends of the county.
Yeah.
They were running out of juice a lot of time because of the cold.
Yeah, and until maybe we get charging stations in our smaller remote places, like I know we're good here in town, But then if we gotta go to Milo and then get sent down to Carmigay, I mean,
Yeah.
we may be in trouble,
Yeah.
so.
No, it was more just curiosity.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and how reliable is it if you get a call and you're, well, I can't go because I'm charging my car?
Yeah, that's inconvenient.
Especially when you had to lose one eye, you know, I mean, that's a downfall. I mean, if it was just one that you could just say, well, on a normal day I could send it out, it's not an emergency,
Exactly.
Then it's one thing to test it out and see what your proficiency is like.
Yeah, and put some miles on it and see how it reacts out in the, you know, a larger area where you're covering more miles.
And unfortunately, maybe that's the thing too, is I think that once potentially the city one, especially if they can use it for more non-emergency, I mean, like you said, you never know when you're out on a routine and then all of a sudden you get a call, you know, if you're down 20-30%, you know, sometimes you're 20-30% is what you needed to.
Yeah.
But it was just curious. Yes.
Yeah.
Be an interesting police chase if we ran into Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, would be. Yeah.
Could be looking back one time. Could be stopping to help you.
We don't chase anymore.
That's not super.
Yeah, and then just an update from our office. I mean, right now we're fully staffed, and I know our victim service lady, she is expecting, so I think they're looking at getting a replacement in there or somebody to relieve her while she's gone. We are looking for other people that are interested in being a guard too, because we fall short on our guards, and that's been a little bit of a issue with us lately, is not having enough people there.
Yeah.
But Lyle can tell you how great the position is, and it's awesome. Yeah. But it's, I mean, it kind of falls in as well with victim services. We're always looking for people who want to volunteer there as well. But the guarding is probably even more important to us in that bit of a pinch. Although our victim services, we could use some more too, and we're always looking for people too. And for victim services, especially males, we haven't had a male advocate for a long time. So that would be nice. We are looking at too. We have approached a gentleman here in town to be our chaplain too, and he might be the chaplain in the area for the RCMP. So I know our people are talking with him. He's already doing it for the fire services. So it'd be nice to bring him on board too. So he might make a good advocate too. Yeah. And other than that, I think things are fairly stable as far as personnel for the detachment right now, but that kind of comes and goes, right? It's probably, you know, in 6 months it could be different. If you just need working.
How many members do you have?
There's 5, myself and 4. Yeah. And then our steno, Jade, she's, I think she's been almost 2 years now. She's been with us now too, so it's coming up. Or just over, yeah. Well, getting into it. Yeah.
She's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome addition, that's for sure.
Any other questions, Bob? Well, thank you very much. You know, really appreciate having the detachment in our community, and appreciate what you guys do. And you know, it's nice, like I said, to see a new piece of equipment for you guys to
Yeah.
use. Hopefully, it never gets used. But
We should also mention that we did that letter of support for the RCMP.
yeah, we have still been pushing for the RCMP to stay on in the province. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's another one of those ones. I'm not sure whether it'll die soon on the paper or whether.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think once Kenny's gone, I think that might take a different turn. It's hard to say how the new leader's going to go on that.
Yeah. You know, and again, you know what? I think that governments would be, to a degree, wrong not to at least look at, you know, the pros and cons of doing something. Unfortunately, you know, it's like everything. We get caught in a position where if we say we should do something and then we don't look at it, or we don't do something, we should have looked at it. So,
Right.
you know, just it definitely has brought, you know, the police force to a higher degree of light in the communities,
Yeah.
especially on the municipal side. I'm not sure on the public side, you know, I mean,
Mhm.
you know, public, it's like you guys are in a fishbowl, you know, but yet, you know, we need you when we need you, and the rest of the time,
But I think sometimes that, you know, a little bit of publicity like that is good for us too, because it gives us an opportunity to take a look in the mirror too and see if there's something different that we can be doing too, right? And that's why we have these meetings too, and for everybody to, you know, if you're hearing things that they'd like, everybody in town or in the county would like to see done or something different, I mean, by all means, bring it to us and we'll see what we can do too. Because we don't have all the answers, and a lot of times there's good solutions and that out there too. We just need to hear about them too.
I think the partnership has been really well received, and you know, we do appreciate you, you know, taking the time to come and visit with all our municipalities and bring your information forward. So
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
great, thank you.
And like I said, if there's anything or you ever need another, have any questions, whatever, I'm available all the time.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks.
Thanks very much, Troy.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Troy. Okay,
Is that your water?
He doesn't want to stay
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You don't want to
You
stay the
can
rest of the
stay
meeting?
if you want.
Can I vote on it?
Thanks.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll move on to the correspondence and information items. We've got a few letters here, you know, for the utility, one of them, one for the RCMP, letter of support for Clark's Creek, but first one's that bond accord building. You know, is there any question on that one there? Redcliff, same thing, increasing the utility fees.
Is your Redcliff one really blurry?
Pardon me, sir?
Your Redcliff, this on here is just total blurry.
Oh, no, mine's clear.
I get the odd one that comes in blurry,
Blurry too.
Yeah.
but this one,
Yeah.
The next one is the letter from the shadow minister. Any thoughts or questions on? I think we're going to see lots of information coming from the department in the near future. Next one is the letter from the Fox Creek with the RCMP again, you know, which just shows that the municipalities are definitely voicing their views, the majority of them. The next one is the golf term donation request. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, jump over. Thank you, sorry. Missed that one. 2022 Stars of the Alberta Volunteer Awards. Any thoughts, questions?
they never give you very much time.
Pardon me?
They don't give you enough time to make.
It really is disappointing sometimes. They know about this, but then they give, the government seems to be worse than everybody.
You think of somebody after, and you think, oh, that would have been.
We do try to make sure that some of the stuff that we get with the really short timelines, we'll send out to everybody before.
Yeah, especially if like some of the seniors in the school ones, you can say, well, send over to the senior center or over to the, couples or Alice or whatever in case they don't get it. But I don't know how far well we can spread some of these, award things go out either. You're right, kind of short deadlines. Okay, so now we'll move on to the Victim Services golf tournament donation request. This one here came through in the past, and we haven't ever, we've donated in the past, but this is the first year that, if it happens, keeps on happening, we probably could put it into the recurring grant if we so desired to participate. But,
I'd like to make a motion with the town of Vulcan, do a minimum donation of $100 for the Vulcan RCMP and Victim Services go through. And that's my main motion, but if we went further, I would.
Now that it's been done twice, we'll bring it up for policies.
okay, any questions on Lau's motion? Cool.
Is $100 enough?
Well, I know, our business donates to it, maybe that's something we could look at on a yearly basis to do.
Big one with this to keep in mind is this is a golf tournament, so there's several golf tournaments through the year. You may be setting precedent for all the rest of them as well. This is the only golf tournament that you sponsor.
Okay.
So just to keep that in mind.
Like, you know, like we do have some discretion, you know, a little bit of money that we put away for those grants that we take the money out of, but again,
That's what we'd like to add to Lyle's motion, to be drawn from the one-time grants to organizations portion of the budget, because we don't have a donation portion of the budget.
The magic word in there is minimal too, is, that'll be the minimum, but on our discretion, it could go up,
Yeah,
depending on how it goes.
yeah.
I'm not necessarily suggesting we do, but like Richard says, the minimum there, I don't know. If anybody else has thoughts?
We're all victims, so
We're also so it's kind of like
Yeah.
near
Yeah, they're just
near
being
to our
real
heart,
quiet
so
over
we
there.
gotta go over here, so.
I mean, we do, you know, make donations to other groups, you know, but, you know, again, too, like Kim said, that sometimes we open the door to other groups that wish. I mean, I'm not trying to knock this because, like you said, we all have our pet projects or events that we like to support, and I'm not knocking that. I don't mean it as any disrespect to any of them, because they all, you know, do great for our community, but, you know, it's a start. I mean, it's been. Any further discussion on Lyle's motion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? It's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to the Chinook Arch Board report. Any thoughts or questions on that? Okay, if not, we need a motion to file a correspondence. Judy? Any discussion on Judy's motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. In favor? It's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to the bylaws and policies. You might question why we're going to do the bylaw now and then discuss it later, but unfortunately our bylaws come up earlier in policies than the discussion. Now, sorry.
And the reasoning being is a procedural. If you are to even consider moving ahead with the project, you have to start the process for the borrowing. So that's the reason why. That's why a lot of times it comes up in the agenda first, and why we put that in the agenda that way. So really, this is you would gave direction for putting this borrowing bylaw together on in January. And now we have enough information that we can actually put proper numbers in there, because we know exactly what the costs, or very close what the costs of the projects are going to be.
So if we give it the first reading, like it explains in the information, then it allows us to advertise and go through the rest of the process. And so Kim put it up on the screen, and everybody's had an opportunity. So if we do give it the first reading tonight, then it will be advertised for the 2 weeks, and then start the 15-day petition area, and then end of that, then we can give it second and third, supposedly, if that's the direction the council wishes to go. And then by the end of July, it should be ready to go.
Right. So you can do second and third reading, but before we can send it to the province for borrowing, we actually have to have a 30-day grace period as well. And what that does is, if somebody didn't put a petition in or felt that we didn't do the steps properly, they could petition to the court to have the bylaw overturned.
So there is, you know, I guess outs period potentially in through this, but if we give it the first reading tonight, then it moves the project forward. Cool.
I would like to make a motion that we give the 1507-22, the North Industrial Subdivision Infrastructure Borrowing Bylaw, its first reading.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on Cole's motion? Okay. Hearing none, we will call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, so it's carried with one opposed. Okay, moving on to the current business. Oh, I'm sorry. Barbara. Sorry.
Mayor Tom Grant, could I possibly be excused from the next one as it could be deemed a pecuniary interest because I'm an employee of Rainbow University Market Society?
Okay, thank you. So Barbara's asked to be excused. Potential at 7:34.
Cole as well.
Cool.
Yeah, my wife works there.
Okay, so you were excusing yourself.
We will, anybody else?
Okay, so Cole and Barbara are both excused at 7:34 for potential.
And the interest being is the funds that could be used for wages.
Right.
If they weren't used for wages, then it would be a pecuniary interest, but because the board is asking for it, and then they set the budget based on the extra funds that are being approved.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No.
Okay.
This is money we're gonna give them anyhow, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So I would like to make the recommendation that the council authorize the donation of $7,000 to the Birdies for Kids charity golf tournament to be funded from money allocated to Rainbow Literacy as per policy Bylaw 6, recurring grants to organizations in the 2022 operating budget.
Okay. Judy moves on. You got a question?
Yeah, in my understanding, so last council gave him 10,000, right?
Yes.
So was that a one-time thing, or was that that was an ongoing?
Yeah, so last year's request, they make the request based on, we annually have in our recurring grants to organizations, $18,000 that we give to. And so for 3 years, they've asked the county to do this, and it's been very successful. Last year was the first time they asked the town, and they asked for 10,000 for the town last year. This year, obviously, they must want the guarantee, well, it's all guaranteed, but they must only need the extra 3,500 that'll come from for their budget purposes. So
Because you get the 35 from
if we donate the 7,000, they get an extra 35, turning that 7,000 into $10,500.
we have the money in place and budget already for
No,
that.
no, it's Rainbow Literacy and some of our other reoccurring grant groups got a reduction 2 years ago or a year ago. Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago now.
In their fundings.
We reduced it 10%.
Yeah. So they did take a cut, and then this year we bounced it back in our budget, back to what we had theoretically normally, but they had taken a cut that we had to the recurring grants.
And Richard, to answer your question, it might be that because of course we give them their funding this in June, usually when our tax notices go out, we start getting cash. So the $11,000 of the 18, they may need the cash right now. Is why they're only asking for 7.
So we give them, you're saying we give them 18 and
Yes.
as a whole.
As a whole, 7 of it goes to the charity so that they can get the extra 35, and then the other 11 is cut as a check.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, it was approved in our budget.
Yeah.
It's just that they're just asking for it to be,
Yeah.
designated to this so they can potentially get this $3,500 extra.
Okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
Keep the computers going.
Yeah. Any other questions on Judy's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? It is carried. So we can invite them back, please, Judy. At 7:38. Thank you.
Hello.
It was a very simple process last year. We actually just do it online. They send out a receipt. It's done, and then they send them a check directly. So I did not touch your screen.
No, it's still there. Oh, no, it's not.
Sorry.
It was 2 seconds.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Town of Vulcan vote. We've had invitations to the Nobleford, Coaldale, Carmagay officially. We're probably anticipating one from Nanton.
Possibly Arrowwood.
And possibly Arrowwood. The Arrowwood one's at the end of June, June 24th, I believe is the 25th. It's on the Saturday. Now, again, we haven't had the invite yet, but, you know, we just, potentially there is that it can go in. I won't be here, so if somebody wishes to take it, that's, you know, you can arrange that for sure. I can show you what you have to do to set it up once you get it. And then the Nobleford one is after the Calgary Stampede, so that's the next weekend after the Calgary Stampede. The Coaldale and Carmagate, like I said, they're both fall on the same day. We've never been to Coaldale, we've been to Carmagate in the past. We've never been to Coaldale, but it's up to you. Go ahead.
Carmagate did get their request in before Coaldale, but again, this is kind of a tough one because as people find out that the float's out there, we're going to get multiple requests, and there's only so many weekends through the summer, so you will be in a spot where you're going to have to pick and choose. So we'll try to keep track of where you go anyway.
Judy?
Just because they're in our county, I'm kind of pulling, I want to go to Coaldale, as where his in-laws are there and that, but I think it'd be fun, and Carmagate thinks we're already accepted, that we're coming, which I was kind of surprised of when I saw this, and I thought, oops. So I don't know,
Again, I won't be around on August the 6th to participate in either. It'll be in Coalworks. Go ahead, Matt.
The one in Nobleford, I'm going to have guests from whatever country, so I can't come to Nobleford. And as far as Coaldale and Carmagate, I'd like to be everywhere, but I think Carmagate, I know for me, work-wise, thinking selfishly, it would be much easier to go to Carmagate back, and then I can do work or whatever.
There is a chance I'll be in Carmagate that weekend if they have a ball tournament. I'd like to try to get a team in to support it, right? So I may already be there anyways.
yeah.
I like the same thought. We should support our own county. Part of me does think that we get more exposure in Coaldale, but I mean, I think if we're going to the Calgary Stampede and whatnot, I think we've got enough of that anyways, maybe. So it's possible that I could be involved with the one in Carmagate that day.
That's my thought too. I think staying in the county is, you know.
Do you have a counselor willing to tow the machine and set it up?
Yeah, and set and drive it. That's the one other.
Unless I have some scheduling conflicts that I'm not aware of, I would volunteer to do that.
It's not a motion or anything, but that's just something to make
Just
sure
something to
that,
consider. Like I can take it to Nobleford without a problem, but I can't make it to this Calgary Stampede.
You won't get the Calgary
No,
Stampede.
I will be at the Calgary Stampede. And we,
What?
yeah, sorry, and we've had a request, and we haven't answered the request for us to take the float up on the Thursday and put it on Stephen Avenue Mall and for display. The logistics that we're trying to figure out is do we have a place where it can be stored overnight, and then so that it's safe, and then I'll have to bring it all the way home or bring it to. I mean, I have I could take it to my son-in-law's place, but it's again out of the city, but so we're just working on the logistics. So the Thursday, Joe and I said that we would participate if we can work out the logistics on it. It's the Friday morning one, but again, you have to be down. The float has to be there before 7 to get it into the city. So ideally, if we can find a place that they can store it, and in the past they have given us security. Now again, whether it's security that we feel comfortable enough with or not, because in the past we used to take it to the Children's Hospital on the Thursday, and then we stored it in their. Well, it was really down at the Fort Calgary is where it was stored, and then the next morning they were able to pull it over to the staging area. So we have to find out the logistics on that, but either way, for the Calgary Stampede, we would be doing, have to be there by, you have to be there by 8 for judging, for sure. So whoever's going to go has to be downtown by 8. And again, in the past, what we've done is one year we all stayed in a motel and then just got on the LT and ran down and then walked over to it. You know, it's a little harder when you leave because, but most of the time you can't park very close anyway, so the easiest way is to take the LRT. You know,
Where is the starting point?
we'll get
You haven't
more.
got that information.
We haven't got, I haven't got it, but it's down on 4th, you know, by close to the Calgary, the Fort Calgary.
We'll put together an entire package for
Okay.
everybody.
So,
We do it pretty cool getting on the LRT with her.
well, the one year we didn't have fire extinguishers, so I brought a fire extinguisher from Vulcan on the LRT in my Star Trek outfit, and it
Got some attention?
got some attention. Got stopped by a security guard wondering where I stole the fire extinguisher from.
The blast will make your face.
But anyway, so Kim just thought we should have an opportunity to look at the float information and
So the recommendation being whatever parades you want to do, and for us to contact the host communities.
Yeah.
So, and even in the ones that that have sent the invitation, we will send a thank you, and or if we have a conflict with scheduling, and we'll hopefully be able to participate next year. Or
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
okay, any other questions on that? So we probably should have a motion for the recommendation, but
Yeah, no further Carnegie.
no further Carnegie.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
Okay, Richard? Okay, any discussion on Richard's motion? And call the question, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is the FCSS loading zone.
So hopefully everybody's had a chance to read the report. It's very straightforward. The door for the loading dock, they run into issues with customers and clients, and every now and then, not very often, but sometimes staff members that park in front of that door makes it hard for them to have drop-offs, and there has been conflict with delivery vehicles that for other businesses in the area. So what they looked at for is putting a loading zone parking area here, which for those of you that remember when the fire hall was there, that entire area was no parking so that they could get the trucks in and out in a hurry. It was kind of interesting when they did up this map to show where they were asking for it. Both times there was vehicles and things parked right where they were talking about. So I had an opportunity to discuss it with Public Works. Stu's got no issues with it. They do have some paint now. As you saw in his report, he actually got some paint. So, and by the look of our town, everything's brightened up with that. So he does have enough paint to paint the area, and we have enough in the repair and maintenance for the building to get a couple signs for the loading. So, thing is it's a change to a parking building. The building itself is owned by the town. Our lease that we have with Foodbank and FCSS says that we maintain the outside of the building, and so this would fall into that. And it's a change to the facility.
Yep.
Again, you're blocking off a portion of the boulevard, so that needs a council motion if you'd like to move forward with that.
It's not actually going to go out into the street, kind of where they're showing it right now.
That's well, and if you look,
There's the curb.
it's
right there.
just the it's just the boulevard that they're looking at.
Okay.
And if you look really close in
You
this
can
picture, you can actually
see
see,
the lines.
you
That's
can
what I was asking.
you can see the old lines, and we would just follow that.
That's why I was asking. With those lines.
That was a squiggly pen on a computer is what that was.
I'll recommend that we approve the Vulcan FCSS and Foodbank Society's request for the permanent installation of a loading zone and designated on the boulevard of 3rd Avenue South, adjacent to the double doors of Foodbank.
Okay. Any discussion on Judy's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 7.4, which is the county cruiser's request for two areas. One is the road closure for the show and shine.
And this comes every year, other than obviously the last couple of COVID really didn't hold their event. Very consistent with, they do Main Street from, you've all been to the, you've all been to the show and shine before, from First Avenue to Third Avenue, and then on Second Avenue, they go from First Street to Second Street with the, a lot of times the bikes and the demolition derby cars. So, they've also asked for, requested the use of the road crowns, which they do every year. So it's very consistent with their previous years.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Richard moves on. Any discussion on Richard's motion? Oh,
Just a question, are they gonna have this soapbox races?
Don't know, they were scheduled for Spock Days and then canceled before, so I'm not sure. That's the Kinsman. Yeah, that's the Kinsman who do that. And
they're on First Street.
and they usually do that on First Street North, and we didn't get that request, so I don't know.
Okay.
We did approve it for Spock Days, but again, Kinsman, whether they were busy or just couldn't get it scheduled, they did cancel.
Okay, so any questions or any other questions on Richard's motion? Hearing now, call the question, all in favor? It's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to the 2022 Municipal Leaders Caucus, and we have one councillor that's interested in going. That doesn't mean that anybody else can't go if they wish.
Councillor Coffey brought this forward that she's interested in attending, so we just put the things together as usual as per our policy 12 in order to be remunerated for out-of-town training, or it has to be approved by council prior to attending. And as Tom said, the request was only from the council, but if others would like to attend, we can add those names to the motion. So inclined.
Yeah, and I did choose Didsbury as opposed to Medicine Hat just because of work schedule, but Didsbury is actually closer than Medicine Hat to Vulcan by almost 30 kilometers. Is that going by Hayes? Or is that going by Hayes? Yeah, pretty much. Because Hayes is the shortcut.
Okay, any discussion on or any thoughts on this? We need a motion to approve this if we
I'll make that motion.
moves that we allow any councillor to go, and Councillor Coffey is the first one that's interested, but if anybody else is interested, just let Karen know and they can get them registered too.
So we'll change that motion to allow
Any councillor?
willing to attend to do that.
Okay, any discussion on Cole's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question in favor. It's carried unanimously. Okay, now moving on to the North Industrial Subdivision Infrastructure Project. So it did go out for tenders. There's information there. All the information went out on the 9th, the 2nd, and the 6th. And the amounts came back, and they're very similar to the amounts that were recommended or guesstimated by Seaman Plus.
One thing to keep in mind with these prices, they're inclusive of the contingency and GST, and we don't pay GST on projects. We pay it, but we claim it back. So overall, as Tom said, it's very close. The original costing that we had was in that 2.9, and so with the contingency, GST, and the engineering, we're actually at 2.5, which you can see is the 2.577 that we put together for doing the borrowing bylaw. The cost breakdown of the project you can see in this funding formula. So as the discussion that council had previously, the total project at 2.577, we've broken it down to the 1.455 million that is currently available in provincial and federal grant funding. I only put provincial because the federal is conducted by the provincial on their behalf, so we apply provincially for it. You have capital reserve funding, and you can see from discussions from a few weeks ago where it was 700,000. Based on the cost, we did the 425,100, and what that did is that leaves 1 year of funding in the sewer, 1 year of funding in the water, and 1 year's funding in the streets, so that you could do, as we talked about during the planning sessions. We may not be able to do a full capital project, but it would allow for things like the sewer lining or some paving of some avenues, those sort of things. So that left about 300,000 in that reserve, 350 with contingency and whatnot. So that will cover off that you're not spending all of your reserve funding on this project as well, which left a borrowing of 697,000 to get to the 2.5. So below that, I put as of June 8th, when I did the calculations, you can see on the $697,000, you can see what the borrowing costs are and the payment are annually for 15, 20, and 25 years. So based on you guys, the previous conversations with council of the wanting to keep the annual cost at about that 50,000 or $250,000, that puts you at the 20-year. Now, having said that, that's the borrowing bylaw that you passed. That's not to say that any cost savings that we may see if we don't use the contingency and again the GST that is going to come back off this project, we potentially could see $250,000 to $300,000 if the project goes as planned. So that could lower borrowing for the amount used out of reserves if council decides to. So really, at this point, it's review of the tender. If you'd like to move forward with the project, these are the costs and the recommendation. You can see that the costs were very, very close between two local contractors. There's only $70,000 difference from the two. SEMA's worked with both, and they have talked to both about securing. One of the biggest questions was in today's market getting parts and pipe, and they both ensured that they have a supply of pipe that will be able to do projects. So the recommendation came back for Blackie Site Works being that they're the lowest bid.
Is the lowest bid Maitland property up there already?
No.
There.
No.
Okay.
I thought that was, but it's a different company.
Okay. I guess good question. How long is that interest rate locked in for? Because things are going up, right?
And it's Alberta Capital Finance, so that's
So if we were to approve it tonight,
even if you're doing even with doing borrowing bylaw, we're not going to be capable of borrowing until September anyway. So it'll be the rates that we are in September, which again is why I wanted you guys to be aware that there is the possibility of lower borrowing or again less reserves if you'd like. There's lots of options on there.
We've only done the first reading anyways, so if things get out of control, there is the way of.
Well, you, regardless of what happens, to move forward with this project, you need to borrow $697,000
Yeah,
at this
that's
point,
interesting.
based on the cost estimates that we have.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a recommendation that council approves the construction of new roads, water, sanitary, and storm sewer infrastructure in the North Industrial Subdivision at a cost not to exceed $2,577,841, with funds to be drawn from capital reserves, provincial grants, and borrowing bylaw number 1507-2022, and that council award the construction contract for the North Industrial Subdivision infrastructure project to Blackie Site Works Limited in the amount of $2,323,869.82 and direct SEMA to prepare necessary notice of award and contract documents.
Okay.
I do thank you for that wording on that and following that, because that's exactly what we need for our auditors to track exactly where you're going to pay for that.
Within the actual documents, just so you know, there's two thuds in the first sentence.
Okay.
Just so you
We will get,
Just
yes,
to amend
I see that approves
Yeah.
the instruction. We'll have that amended for the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on Barbara's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? And
You could just assume that.
oh, that's fine. So it was carried with one opposed. Thank you. Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to the committee reports. There's one there from BAPA. Any questions on that one?
They just meet once a year, that's what they're doing.
Generally, yeah, once a year. Yeah. We just met on the 6th, I think it was, so that's why I brought it in. But sometimes I meet twice, but generally it's only once. Okay, Marcus Foundation, minutes of April 26th. Any questions on that one? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the SEWA board meeting of April 29th. And then there was an executive meeting on May 20th. And then there's this briefing update. That briefing update, like I said, we were trying to do it every month, and if there's any information in it and you wish to share that with anybody, you're more than welcome to share that information. It is also on the website.
For council's information, we used to put it up in a correspondence thing, but because we're getting minutes, it's much easier to read the minutes with the update and this.
Okay, no questions on that. We'll move on to the County Health and Wellness Foundation. Their March 30th meeting. Okay, any questions on that one? Hearing none, we'll move on to ORSC. And I appreciate some of these coming a little later than quite often than the members have already, brought us all up to speed. It doesn't mean that the organization is lax in getting them. Some organizations want to approve the minutes before they send them out, so that's why sometimes we've already heard the answers to the questions. But again, if there's anything that arises, please have if you have a question, ask it.
I'd have to remember an answer, that's a long
I
time.
think Richard remembers what happened at that meeting on December 12th.
It's the same thing with what Lyle had questioned about, that was, which was a year ago. Anyway, any thoughts?
Christopher Northcott's on there twice as executive on the executive committee, so
Yeah,
that's
see
pretty
that, you guys.
popular.
Okay, so if not, we'll entertain a motion. Okay, Richard? Any discussion on Richard's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question in favor. And it's carried unanimously. Okay, now we'll move on to the councilor's reports. Councilor Magnuson.
I had a few meetings just before I came here. I had a attraction retention committee meeting. We're having kind of a party at the pool on July the 8th, and then there's a barbecue afterwards. And this is in conjunction with the Vulcan, the Rhapsody Community Award that the Vulcan and County Healthcare Workers Attraction and Retention Committee received. There'll be a presentation at the for the award, and I'm not sure how much detail I want to get into, but anyhow, our retraction and retention committee has done a really good job about getting healthcare professionals to come to Vulcan and stay in Vulcan, and it's a continuing program that they're working on to help keep our professionals here and attract new people to come and explain to them why Vulcan's a good place to set up and a good place to learn and you know, raise their families. So we had the meeting this evening to discuss the process. They're going to be taking some videos and just talking about the presentation. I should have further information later on that. I was also at the rec committee meeting with the county there, was it last week or so, and I felt pretty positive coming out of that. And of course it was at the parade for Spot Days, really good response, great weather, and I even went back and that was some of the, sounds like the ball tournament was fantastic, and the vendors market, I went and spoke with some of the people there and didn't really realize it, but to the Star Trek fans, they told me that Vulcan is their Graceland. And that's the thing I think our community has to, I'm not sure if you need to embrace Star Trek, you don't need to be a Star Trek fan, but we have fans coming from all over the world basically coming here, and they want to spend money, they want to hang out here, and what can Vulcan do to help embrace that, because that's our carrot that all towns, villages, cities in the world are looking for, and we have it. We need to take advantage of it.
They said that to you while you were wearing a Star Wars shirt?
They did. They did.
Ran into a mile on Saturday wearing a Star Wars shirt downtown.
Well, I noticed that Tom's grandchildren got some Star Wars.
That's what we have.
They had a good chuckle at that.
Yeah. But it's, like I said, it's 2022. We embrace everybody.
Diversity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And some of the groups that these people set up, it does sound quite nerdy that you belong to this spaceship, which is a group. I think group volunteers, they do nonprofit stuff for all sorts of groups, like the groups. The one leader is a 911 dispatch operator at a Calgary, and there's a lot of professionals that are on it. So it was neat to look into it a little further and kind of dig behind that too. So hopefully 2023 will be bigger and better. So that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Lyle? No? Thank you very much. Councillor DeVoe.
Just the rec meeting on the 6th. I'm getting a lot of questions and definite opinions when I go do a service call over in that area. So just quite a few comments, a lot of definite opinions. But no, that was about it. I was away quite a bit. Mother had an accident, so I was dealing with that for quite a while. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, any more questions for Richard? Okay, thank you. Councillor Sampson.
Well, on May 31st, I did a Zoom meeting with Marcus Foundation. Directors were brought up to date on what's happening with our consultant, Derek and Tara Weiss. It's a waiting game with government with new rulings. I think today I was at a 6-hour sitting working on the business plan for the Marcus Foundation. I'm still walking. And I think the government has released some funding now, and they've been quite generous, so hopefully we'll be submitting everything here. We have a Marcus Foundation meeting on the end of this last Tuesday of the month, so we'll approve the business plan and everything will be sent up. The Peter Dawson Lodge is COVID-free again. Staff residents were all amazing through this outbreak, and they stayed strong and kept their smiles on. So, hair on them. Congratulations to everybody. June 6th, I also attended the County Rec Agreement meeting. June 9th, I had an AGM for FCSS. We were served supper, shepherd's pie first, and the disaster program. You probably are aware of the disaster program that's being developed for the low German-speaking population. There's 72 out of 99 kids at Lowman within the low German-speaking, and Carmen Gay has the care center and also the school. So, and there's quite a few, I think, low German-speaking within our community. So we have somebody that's working with us out of the Tabor youth area, and that speaks low German. So quite beneficial to help these people in our area. So disaster drills have been completed and disaster beds upgraded for the town and county. New director's contract was discussed in closed session. Term ends June 30th. It's to be signed by then. Elections were held. Betty Whitney remains as chair. Kim Armstrong remains as vice chair. And Kelly Nelson is our new secretary. The FCSS Provincial Conference is in Edmonton, November 16th to 18th, and the keynote speakers have been booked. It's Dr. Jody Carrington and Helen Joanne McLeod. In my youth, I tell you, that's always Helen Joanne McLeod. Commercials, participation.
Participation.
Yeah. Yes. So if I get to go, that's exciting. So. June 9th also was the Foodbank AGM. Officers are remaining the same as FCSS. Past month, it's been quite quiet for requests of money for rent and utilities from the normal client base. However, the main crisis now would be housing and mental health. And this is really gone through the roof. So, news from FCSS AA directors meeting. Other areas also operate both the food bank and the FCSS. Trend is lower donations and higher urban transient populations using rural food banks. So cost of groceries and living expenses are limiting people giving donations. So the food bank hampers are up to 64 from 46 for the previous month. So quite high. Again, I sat on today. I was at the Marcus. Tomorrow night, there's a special meeting for golf directors at 8 o'clock. Just a few notes of interest. Oh yeah, I also attended the parade, and people don't get it, that communities would kill for our brand. And the people that came out, and I was over thanking people that brought their floats or whatever, and everybody was just really excited. I got so many comments about how wonderful our parade is for small communities. So hats off to everybody. I think I noted, I told you before that the TELUS booth was being removed. You might see it's not on the street anymore, but TELUS did donate it to the museum. So what they did though is they came and they painted all four sides on the top where it says TELUS with black paint. And then we had to all the paint. But they took the plates off on the phone that had the TELUS emblem. So that is now in the museum. So I know some people are happy about that. I wanted to bring up that I've noticed the sidewalk crossings, they must have used new material, and it's all chipping, or a lot of it's chipping.
Yeah, it's a thermoplast product that's used drying out as opposed to the paint, because it is long-term supposed to last longer. It will,
Yeah.
the sides will chip.
It looks good. There's some places where it's, and just another note, I've noticed that elm trees out on the cemetery are really, they need some major trimming when I walk by there. So just lots of interest.
Okay, any questions for Judy? Super cool. The one question I guess was we all got that letter forwarded from a concerned citizen in the community about low-cost housing, and so if you can address that with FCSS, because they are the ones that received the grant.
Yes.
They've received it twice.
So, that grant was prior to my,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
so I'm not sure where the money, I did contact,
They've received it 2 times.
they could be, but I'm not aware of that, but I did talk to the person that had the issue, and I passed that on. I talked to her, and I went through, we had just taken over, discussed at our AGM, that we have several people who need accessible housing, but we're very limited to what is available in Vulcan. Many of our clients need access to medical services or cannot have stairs in the home, and in general need to be close to amenities for basic needs because of limitations to driving. They either do not drive or they cannot afford gas to come into town. This makes it difficult to place them in the surrounding villages, which I found out that the villages don't even have. I don't think there's any rental properties available out there. Even without the limitations, like they're usually revved up right away. The solar farm people have really hindered that as well. Then if we have an emergency where a person needs to be housed immediately, all of our hotels and shelters around us are running at capacity. If you have somebody that's homeless and they have a record and you take them into the motel and the motel is aware and they refuse them, you can't do anything about that. They have the right to refuse us placing somebody in there. We've recently utilized the campground, which is great in the summer months, but it is only temporary. We had someone in the campground late last year that still had to be moved at the end of summer when the town closed it for winter. It does buy some time at least, but without a change in the rental markets, we still won't be able to house people. I'd really like to see some rentals pop up, but unfortunately, we can't see that happening at any time soon. So what can we focus on? It's being a positive outlet when everything else in their worlds are potentially negative, and keep making connections to other services, whether it be for finding doctor job searches. So they do help them, do resumes and potentially get a job. They sit down and help them to watch their money and what they can spend. So they do spend a lot of time on that. They do taxes. They work with them with mental health, and we assist with any housing that we can, but again, our hands are kind of tied. We also work on prevention in youth in a more of a roundabout way. He's done junior achievers, which help young kids learn how to budget their money and to save. And the Do Crew, I think they're 2 very important programs to try to help kids who maybe don't think they belong in other groups around town. So this is a situation that is not unique to Vulcan. It is everywhere, but we will help in any which way that we can. And to speak to the money portion of it, I referred this person to Joan because I'm new on it and I'm not aware of this money. So Joan will, and the person was very happy that I called right away, and that.
And so that everybody knows, I reached out to Judy and provided some background information as well. There's a whole bunch more to that situation that was let out in public. So.
Yeah, no, I just appreciate that you brought that up forward, because other people that potentially have that question in their mind. Because that's the downfall of social media is, well, that's the downfall of anything is that, we usually only hear the one side of the story, and we never get an opportunity to hear the other side.
There's always 2 sides to it.
Well, there is more than 2 sides to these things. Only one, the coin is right. There's only 2 sides to a coin, but to a subject, there's probably multiple sides to it too. So.
There's also, I should bring up, because FCSS was quite concerned because there was, I think it was Life in Vulcan, I did see it. Yeah. And it mentioned FCSS on, that FCSS was supporting this program that they were doing. Yeah. And FCSS cannot do that. It is government bound. We will speak and help people in any way we can, but you cannot say that FCSS supports you and will help with the GoFundMe, because that is totally not allowed by the government at all. So we wanted that. We're letting John's letting all of the administrators of Life and Vulcan know that, so that it covers our butt if it comes back and the government says, what are you guys doing? You don't, you know, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, that's the downfall of
social media.
Social media. I mean, and again, I'm not trying to pick on social media, but quite often it seems though that, you know, we only see or hear the one side of the story and never get a chance to see the other sides. And, but anyway, thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Any other potential or any other questions? Well, go ahead.
For Life and Vulcan, I'm the administrator, so if they just let me know.
Okay, I'll let,
I can see it.
Okay. Any other questions for Judy or comments?
I will say that Joan did reach out to the person that put it on Life and Vulcan, and they said they would take it down, but we did still see it on there later, so that's what she
I'm just.
Yeah, but I will let her know to reach out, to you, because then you would know what.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Councilor Murphy.
I attended the Health and Wellness Foundation meeting on May the 25th. The Vulcan County Health and Wellness Challenge started June 1st. Upcoming June 16th and 17th is their first 24-hour Golf for a Cause. So they have 8 golfers that you can sponsor that are going to golf for 24 hours. So you can take your pick who you think can get through 24 hours of golfing. And the only other thing that came from that meeting, and I spoke with Judy a little bit about it, and she referred me to contact her chairperson, is that they would like to have a bit more information on what is going on with the Marquee Foundation, because it's going to be so close to the hospital and will also affect services within the hospital. So, and of course I was at the June 6th as well, the Town and County Rec meeting, and I had a lot of fun being in the parade. So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, any questions for Barbara? Hearing none, thank you. Councilor Dunham.
I had a IMDP meeting on May 27th with the county. I had some notes, but unfortunately my notebook is in my truck, which is at an auto mechanic shop. So, so yeah, I thought it went fairly well. I thought we got some clarification on some of their intentions, and I thought Kim did a really good job of maybe offering them some advice on how to proceed on certain things. I was also at the Town and County Rec Agreement meeting. I thought it went really well. I guess the ball's kind of in their court at this time, but
It's on their agenda for Wednesday.
yeah, so I thought it was, I give Tom and Kim a lot of credit for, I guess, coming up with that agreement, or that suggestion for the agreement. Also, as far as rec goes, I give Kim a lot of credit for the new hire in that position. I got a lot of positive feedback on that, and hopefully it all goes well. So, the parade and SWAT days, I thought as council we represented really well. I was really impressed with how that went, and the actual event itself was excellent. Some feedback I got from it was, not negative feedback, but they feel some people from out of town feel there's a lack of accommodations in town. As council, the only thing I think we could possibly do is some camping expansion. The hotel end of things, that's coming from private investment, so, but that could be one drawback to it, but other than that, I think it was good. Some people have had concerns over some of the camping tents, I guess, over there. There's concerns about it growing as a thing. I've kind of just referred them to Kim. I have no official opinion or whatnot. I trust that it's being handled, I guess. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, any questions? Go on.
I just want to say with a lot of those that come from Calgary, I know some of them are seniors and they've been here forever, But they always stayed at the White Hotel, and they loved it, because they had the spot being room, and they just thought it was great. So now they don't have that option, so I see where that is a big concern, but hopefully the White Hotel gets open and those things gives us something, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be nice to have a motel or some other, especially with the solar park taking up a lot of these rooms too, I'm sure.
Well, and camp stalls too, I think.
Yeah.
It's more long-term.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, there was overflow camping though,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed to be getting used. And to me, there seemed like there was more room there if people wanted to camp there. So, yeah,
That's good.
Okay, any other questions for Cole? If not, thank you very much. Move on to me. We had a solid waste meeting. Biggest concern is whether we'll be able to stay within the budget with some of the costs going up on the price of fuel and the other expenses of trucking and that. And they're redoing all of their bylaws. So hopefully over a period of time we'll get all the bylaws in place up to date. I was invited to go to grad or represent the town at grad, so I went both nights. I had anticipated going both nights anyway, but I went both nights, and it was, I think, turned out to be very successful. You know, grad back to a degree of some degree of normalcy, and so it was kind of neat to see the kids, you know, up there and graduating and go from there. VAPA, we had the meeting on the same day as the rep agreement meeting earlier in the day. We have a new manager, Linda Clouchet, moved on to the city, so she retired from that. And a young lady from Bylaw area, Kirsten Lucas, has taken on the position as the manager, or whatever position title they give her. So in that's partly why the report is a year old, because we usually meet a year, you know, and it's not usually very long. The majority of the oil companies that were represented there, the majority of the discussion was about most of it's status quo. There was two companies that are doing a little bit of exploration, and it's mainly up in Harrington, Majorville, the northern portion of the county of Vulcan. The other thing is that the lady from Alberta, not Alberta Environment, Alberta ERCB was there, and ERD. She was there, and she said that provincially, the oil companies are only using 25% of their allocated water consumption licensing. I did ask her what's going to happen with the new Water for Life strategy that's going on, whether they'll get nailed because their licenses aren't up to date being used, and she didn't have a clue on that. She honestly didn't have a clue, so she was going to kind of look into it and see. But yeah, it was pretty decent. It was pretty, like I said, pretty well status quo, which we've all seen in the oil industry. Again, the rec agreement, thank you very much for everybody, and thank you, Kim, for supplying us with all the information for it, and you know, coming up with putting it all together and getting it ready for us. And hopefully it was received by the rest of the council in a positive light, and we can move forward. We meet, you know, almost weekly, it seems, though, with the special meetings to do this evaluation that's going to be coming up. We all have signed off on the three agreements: the non-disclosure, the I don't know what the other two are. Non-disclosure is probably the most important one. The anti-bullying one's the other one, but I never bully anybody, so I'm not sure why they want me to sign it. Right, G? And the parade. Again, I'd like to thank everybody too for, you know, being able to attend as much as you could. And at the very end, after we're done here, I got a couple questions for a couple of councillors on the parade of the float itself. So, but thank you everybody for participating. And I think exactly what everybody has kind of echoed so far is that we don't realize how good a gem we have in our community, and how many communities would give their IT to be able to have something like this. And it's nice that we are able to go out there and participate. And Cole is right. My grandkids, they dress up. They think that the parade is for the people that are watching it as much as it is for the ones that are in it. And if we could find more costumes, I'm sure that they would work well. And again, thank you everybody for, especially Ron, that went on to a couple other events after the sign unveiling. The two people that were there, I call them stars, but one guy says he wasn't a star. And the other guy that came,
He's a character.
Yeah, but the other guy that did come, he was he wasn't supposed to be there, but somebody got sick and they couldn't come, so he came instead. But they were just thoroughly impressive. Indeed, I mean, sometimes we look around and say we have nothing for them, which to a degree is true. But sometimes when you have a third party coming in, they see the hidden gems. And the other thing that I've heard so much about, and maybe it's partly because we were kind enough to have some moisture a couple days before, but how green and how beautiful our community was.
It is looking nice.
So many people just commented on how great it looked in our community, and again, that's a hats off to the people that mow the grasses and try and look after their properties, and the town, our public works, how much effort they put into trying to get everything ready, have it spit and polished as much as they could. Sign unveiling again too, I participated in that, and it turned out really quite nice. I mean, everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the sign and how the crew put it together, and the people that built the sign and had it powder coated. It looks really good, so it's a very positive item for us as a community. Other than that, I think that's pretty well it for me, unless somebody has some questions. Judy, I'll start with Judy, then Cole.
I just a thought, because when we were at the arena afterwards, so many people came up and had pictures with us, and then with the starship behind, and then also at the unveiling, we had people that came up and we had kids come sit on the float with Joel and myself and take pictures. And I'm just wondering if we couldn't maybe look at maybe doing a photo op with the float afterwards for people who would want to get a picture. Just something to think of.
We've done that in the past.
Have you?
Yeah. Last year was our first opportunity because of COVID. The previous council, that was the first time they were able to get in front of the float as well with full pictures and whatnot. So usually try to do something before and then some after.
Yeah. That was one other reason why we thought if we took it down to the unveiling, there might be some other more people that would like to. And even on that, when we were driving back from it, I stopped a couple times there because a person wanted to take a photo or where they go. So it
was
is
kind of around town. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it is a very well received addition to our community. That's for sure. So. Okay, now Cole again.
I just got a comment on how great the fireworks were, so thank you. My kid's first time he got to stay up to watch them. Probably to Austin. He was like, wow, I can't believe how cool they were. I'm like, well, I told you.
There is a bit of a discussion too, is because some people thought they were at 10, and then and to be honest with you, 10 is too early.
Yep.
10:30 maybe pushing it, but if you don't get it dark enough, it's
That was good.
not as good.
It was Friday?
It was published in the brochure as 10, I believe.
Yeah,
And that's where they confused a lot of stuff.
but the flyer that came out in the mail said 11. Yeah. So, but anyway, well, thank you.
The council called me, then I asked him to call you to see how.
Yes, I did get that strange question. What's going on? Okay,
Just a reminder that next Tuesday is the meeting we've all been waiting for. For the open house at the Vulcan Lodge Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. For Henry Court for Steve Holmes. It would be great if we could all be there. I have a flying club meeting at 7:30, but I think we can be cool to see we'd be there at the beginning to see how things go.
I have golf, and I've only golfed 1 9-hole this year, so I need to get up there.
Well, thank you, La, for bringing that.
I'd like to be there.
Okay. No, that's good. It's good to hear the questions and concerns, and I'm sure there will be all the.
See the presentation.
Henry, well, this is the time. And Henry's also asked to meet with council following that, if we put something together. The meeting itself within a couple days afterwards to kind of go over the feedback that everybody gets. This his application obviously rides on that feedback from that meeting and wants to talk to you guys as councillors afterwards. We can put a meeting together.
Okay, anything else? Okay, if not, we need a motion to receive Richard. Any discussion on Richard's motion? Hearing none, call the question in favor. It's carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to the action report. Action list, I guess.
You've all had a chance to read the list. Obviously, we got stuff for the industrial subdivision move forward and everything from the last meeting. So unless there's anything on the outstanding that council has questions on, I've met with Northern Company to forward the Ag Society agreement. And again, I believe most of you know we ran into an issue with the land title on that, so we're doing it up as a schedule instead, because the land title includes the whole section, not which includes highway, railroad. So we're gonna do it as a separate schedule that we can attach directly to the agreement, just to make sure that 50 years from now, people know that it's exactly the property that was agreed upon. And yeah, from that.
Any questions for Kim? Or? Okay, if not, we'll move on to your CEO report.
So it's been a pretty busy couple, 3 weeks. I'm going to start with my formal meetings because that kind of reflects on where we're at. We had the SEMA contractor site meeting where we had a really good turnout, lots of questions, those sort of things. Worked on the regional emergency management plan. Judy talked about it a little bit in the FCSS update. We had everybody that would be in an emergency operations center in the county office for a stand-up, going through all the equipment and everything, making sure everything works. And so we did a full practice with that. The reason why I attend is we do have people from the town that sit on the regional county EOC. The only reason I was there is I met Deputy Dem, so if Nels is away or is unavailable, then I'm the director of emergency management for that. So we had a developer meeting with the future future development meeting on site. That was with the developer for Whispering and the Fairways. We are actually on site going through a bunch of different scenarios for development in that area, not specifically the RV park, but again, some of the stuff that he brought up that would follow along and accompany that, like the multifamily residential that may possibly have an impact on the housing market in our community, rental market, and some of this, the land that was purchased around the mystery pond, that we call it, that we're filling. Just a bunch of questions on what that looks like when it hits finished grade, those sort of things. So spent quite a bit of time with that, and again, he requested at that point, he's really looking forward to feedback from the community on that, because right now people are hearing a lot of negative, or is there going to be anybody on the support side that's going to show up, that sort of thing. He wants to get that, and then from that just wants to meet with council again after that, before he makes a formal application, because people, from that meeting you'll have a better understanding of what it is. The industrial property owner, we sold the property, they took possession of it, and of course with the construction that's coming up, there's going to be some access issues, like there's a 40-year-old trail that was in there that's on the backside of those properties. So we met with him on site to go over it to make sure that we can actually properly access through construction and have an agreement in place with him so that we can continue using those old trails and that, because technically it's his property and he can restrict access to us. So we wanted to clarify that, make sure, so we met on site. And for a liability side, he's just going to have a lawyer draft up a quick access agreement for us. We're going to do that.
Is that to get to like the community gardens?
No.
No. Up in the industrial where we were piling
Oh.
the gravel.
Okay,
So there's an
gotcha.
old trail that runs behind John Deere.
Yeah.
We've sold those 2 lots, so that trail runs through those. Now, we weren't worried about the trail when we're doing it because obviously you've all saw the plans. Part of that is recovering that trail, doing the grass swale for the stormwater management.
Yeah.
So we weren't really worried about it, but we do need to use that road to access the gravel piles. And of course, for the new property owner, he took possession and went out there and there's a brand new, what looks like brand new gravel road going down the backside of his property. So we met with him on site to make sure that everything was clarified. And we had done all of the work while it was still in our name. He'd only had possession for 9 days and realized there was much work going on out there. So wanted to make sure we clarified that. TELUS, I met with them to review our accounts. As we've had discussions in the past, we had a really hard time getting TELUS to cooperate when we were building the pool for some of the accounts in there. We ended up having to go with Axia. Axia has now been bought out by TELUS, so we're going through the transition, and as part of that, we have asked TELUS to review a bunch of our accounts, both on the internet and phone side. And really based on our past experience, we had the internet go down to this building, and that's the reason that we were always with TELUS, and that was the reason why we went with Axia, because we phoned and asked when the internet was going to be back up, and they gave us a 60-day window. Ooh. Which for our building, for our servers and that, nobody's email works, none of that, so we couldn't wait that long. We phoned Axia and they had service in here within 5 hours. So we're reevaluating that as this is, and just making sure that we're going to continue to have the service levels that we require.
Is FCSS part of, or is that a separate entity? Because they're paying $670 a month.
Yes, and we're going to review everything that the town has, but the FCSS has also negotiated some of their own stuff with TELUS, which makes it very difficult. Like, so we need one corporate, because we're covered under a corporate account, so we have to have one corporate representative that reviews all of our stuff and makes recommendations back. Because it's also not fair for any one employee for the town to try to manage all of that stuff. We have accounts receivable bringing that bill in and dealing it out, but trying to phone and negotiate a better rate for one over the other, we need to do that as a group for all of our stuff to keep it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we're working on that. Then met with SEMA virtually for the tender review. Again, with as close as the low price tenders were and our past experience with those contractors, there was quite a bit of discussion on making sure, and really what it came down to was how long it was going to take to do the project. They were 20 days apart, and the $70,000. And again, with the experience that SEMA has working with both of those contractors, really their recommendation has to go to council for the lowest amount of money. So council could have always picked another tender, but then you have to explain why. And met with the county for the recreation meeting, and just to follow up on this from that, obviously the meeting went very well. They did actually forward us rec funding based on last year's model, based on the previous agreements. So there was $82,000 for the pool, $80,000 for the arena, as was discussed, but they also forwarded the 43, knowing that we're halfway through the recreation season for the programming side of things. So Nels and I had a conversation that that will allow us to get everything put together where we start doing the, if they approve it, the submission of rec programming, we'll be able to start that in the new year and carry on with that. There was a mistake actually on it. They actually sent us more money than they were supposed to, because they sent us their capital reserve funding that they were putting into their reserve. So I asked them about it. I did mention, we can put it to use, but we sent the check back, and they're going to reissue our cash.
Yes, sir. Put it in a bank.
I want to make sure we maintain that relationship for a while. So anyway, so back to the normal administrative stuff over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, did the council meeting and did answer questions for the advocate. Been working with SEMA for quite a few questions through the tender process. Drafted the borrowing bylaw for the industrial infrastructure. Worked with Trinus Technology. We did have a computer that went down. We had a power outage. And we had a computer that wouldn't come back up, so we had to move some computers around in here. We also had some Outlook issues for email, and so far they've got them all resolved, and everything's back up and running the way that it should. So, and to be completely honest, the Outlook issue was my own. I meant to look up a phone number, and my 500 contacts had gone down to 13. And I panicked a little bit because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know all your phone numbers. luckily, everything was still in my phone, so we did get that resolved. I've been in constant contact with the developer for the new RV proposal. He did tell me he's going to send out the whiteboards, that digital forms of the whiteboards that he's going to have at the meeting, so that you guys can all have a look at it. So nothing's a surprise to you guys when you get there. And like I said, he's really looking forward to getting that out, because he says, right now he's only hearing from the people that are negative about it. He did talk to a couple people that didn't know anything about it, so he really wants to get the word out there. So if you're talking to somebody about it, positive or negative, tell them to come to the meeting so that they can hear about it. So, because he's also bringing his family just so that they can see the reaction and deal, make a good decision for their company as well. So, helped Tom with music for the float. A little bit of a panic there that none of it would work. So turns out it was just a bad USB drive. So we know now that everything we have on our server is still works in the machines. We're able to do that.
It's great music.
Until it gets stuck on the same loop for 5 hours.
That's okay.
As long as you're not in the same place for 5 hours.
Yeah, and really, there's a short loop that we use on that thing, and for the Vulcan parade, it seems like a lot, but you got to remember you're only in front of people for about 2-3 minutes, so they never hear the whole thing anyway. I was able to conduct review applications, conduct interviews for the community service manager. We also were able to put out an offer, and it was accepted, obviously, from the email that I've sent out to all of you. It was Chris Goche that goes, Bonnie put in her report. The hiring committee that we had for the position included myself, Janice, and Bonnie, the experience, so that she knew what questions to ask, where we were at. And the process went very well. We got a good selection of applications and quite a bit of interest in the position. So, various community members' inquiries. We actually, it seems like about one a day questions on the RV, and then there's a ton of misinformation out there about it. It's whether it be just regular camping, what it's going to look like the walking path around the outside. Like Henry's completely eliminated that. He's looking at fencing. That's why he's so looking forward to getting the proper information out there. So we did have an interesting inquiry this last couple of weeks about R2 lots for manufactured homes again. And again, this is all coming from the lack of housing availability in our community. As you know, we have a land use bylaw that allows for R2 for manufactured homes. We don't have a single lot available anywhere in town. We don't have anything zoned for R2. So if somebody wanted to put in a trailer, they couldn't, unless they purchased an old one and pulled it off. So that's something to consider with that. Again, I believe that based on some of the feedback I've been hearing, it would get the same response from anything else if it was proposed in an area. There's a need for it in our community, and I had somebody in my office that has a trailer bought and ready to put on a lot and wants to live in Vulcan but can't.
that house that maybe it was at NPC that we approved has
Yes.
been moved in?
Yeah, it's sitting on there and they're
That'll
doing the
work.
foundation and hopefully at the next month's meeting, she didn't have quite all the information ready for the NPC that was scheduled for tomorrow, so we passed it on. So, council members' inquiries, the float rec agreement and some procedural stuff. It's been pretty quiet that side. You guys have all been busy with lots of different things, so, and I was off sick for a day. Many of you that talked to me on the phone heard the cough that I carried around for a week and a half. That's my
Any
report.
questions for Kim on this report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to development clerk. Fairly straightforward there. Any questions on that one at all, or? Okay, well, we'll move on to public works.
As you can see, Stu got paint from both Volker and Alberta Traffic Supply, so it actually helped us out quite a bit. We hadn't had paint for 2 years, so that's why he did that experimental on the thermoblast. We had done it before on old pavement, and the old pavement, because it has so much more texture, it wore really bad when we went over it with the grader. It would chop the tops off of it. So they, we hadn't gone back to it, but they had a conversation with Stu with the new pavement, that they're a lot more successful with it on new pavement. So he said, we got brand new stuff downtown, let's give her a go and see how it works. So we're just gonna have a look at it and see how it works.
Okay, any questions for any of the items for Stu's?
Note in there that Stu wanted to bring up is with the golf course with that line.
Yeah.
With the amount of time that they're spending doing that, that they may have to start charging that back because they did find a solution, they just didn't follow through with keep doing that.
When are they, I mean, that's been ongoing up there for, I don't know, how many years?
It's a shallow line with a belly
Yeah.
in it, and what they found the last few times that they've done it is more of a fabric rag.
Yeah.
So wipes
Yeah.
are going down there instead of just regular toilet paper.
Educate me still.
It's only a 4-inch line that's 100
Yeah.
some feet long.
Yeah, the other alternative is for
To
you to replace
redo it.
that line and maybe even go deeper and put in on a lift station. You know,
I think
everybody
we
knows
priced
what
that out
And-
5 or 6 years ago.
And like I said, using the proper products, making sure that everybody, it's not an
Yeah.
issue. It's also, you gotta look, it's been an issue, but it also for 15 years wasn't an issue when everything, like, people were doing the right thing with it too. as well.
Yeah.
So,
And unfortunately, it might get worse because of the potential of the line moving,
Yeah.
up or down, or,
Yes,
you know.
settling. It's very shallow at that.
Yeah.
It is shallow.
Yeah.
And it is,
Yeah, there's some bellies in it.
yeah,
So, and then, like I said, the annual flushing, if everything else is kept in order, the annual flushing is usually enough to keep it good. So, and we're gonna continue to flush it when we do our annual flushing. It's when the recommendations aren't being followed and there's 6, 7, 8 hours of public works time going into
Yeah.
fixing something that shouldn't be an issue, that he just had the conversation that, some of that time may have to be covered.
Okay, any other thoughts or questions on Stu's? Okay, move on to community services.
Obviously, Bonnie announced
Yeah.
Chris is as a replacement. He's actually very excited about starting work. And we've got him scheduled for the 20th and maybe in the office before that, depending on his work commitments that he currently has.
are they doing anything for Bonnie?
We're doing stuff internally here, yes, and we've had discussion where most at the next meeting we'll bring her in for
We don't bring people in for the shake in front of the camera if they don't want to be here. But,
Are you gonna try and do an exit review?
yes. Actually, it's been a series of, there was a lot learned during the interview process that I'm just going to document. The rest of her report is informational on,
What kind of response did we get from the, when you had the pool people in from other communities?
it was really, really positive. Yeah, and being that we are the first one that's happened in a long time, the other communities went away hoping that they can host it as well because of the information that was shared. Because it's outdoor pool communities getting together, but it also has AHS and everybody bouncing ideas off of each other from an operational, from a staffing standpoint. And really nice to hear that everybody's having the same issues. Like there's no lifeguards out there, whether you're a big center or a small town. Nobody took the training during COVID, so now you got 2 years to catch up to do with students that are still trying to figure out how to go to school and all those things that they weren't able to do for the last couple of years.
I think that would be kind of neat if that was noted somehow in the, with the paper, whatever, that we had people down here that it's not just a Vulcan problem, that stuff's going on. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, any other questions or? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the peace officers.
This is Gabby's month-end report. You can see she had quite a few files. For those of you that were out and about, she was out all weekend here. She actually pulled the trailer in and stayed in town. And her significant other played in the ball tournament with the town crew guys, actually. Quite a good time. So she was able to spend a fair amount of time. Justin from the county was also around, and they worked in, obviously, from Troy to report, worked in coordination with the RCMP, and this was Gabby's first SPOC days, but Justin's worked several, and he said that up there, he felt that there was more people, but overall, he felt, and this was just a verbal conversation that I had downtown, he felt that people responded better and were better behaved than in years past when it come to dealing with the enforcement side of things. So their interactions were all mostly very positive.
I have a son-in-law that works for the City of Calgary Police, and he said that there are a group of unsavory type of people that go from community to community when there's events like this go on, and they create problems, but they also use it because they know that there's more people in the community, so there's potential for more candidates for them to harass and take advantage of. So he said that, you know, what Troy had said is not abnormal in light of what's going on in the world. That there's this group that seemed to float around from community to community. So whenever you put on an event, anticipate that your crime rate will go up because of they're taking advantage of these.
Get a rope.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, go back to Gabby's. Is there any comment or questions on? Go ahead. Mark.
I do see Gabby out in the community all the time, which I think is wonderful. And I also love the fact that not just that she enforces like people to slow down in those playground zones. I appreciate that. But also the fact that she does that positive ticketing. And I think that's really good, especially for our youth when they receive, like, you know,
Thank
a
you for
ticket.
doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a partnership with the county and the RCMP, so they all have to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
She is, obviously through her report you saw, she's also working with the school, hopefully before the end of the year, but possibly the way that it's going, it'll probably be in September now, but for the crash simulator and that's quite a big deal to get that big into our community for a demonstration.
Yeah.
So she's working to get that out
It really is.
Yeah, I know she was really wanted it for June, but it looks like September.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to get for a small community as well, and pretty eye-opening. I don't know if everybody here has seen it. It's pretty eye-opening at how little of a crash it takes to do such big damage.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to fire chiefs. That one was a new one for tonight. It came in later than the date that was sent out, but
Is it, I think it probably just didn't change that. It's supposed to be 2022 town and 2022 rural?
No, the first two columns are 2022,
Oh, that's the
and then
2022.
2021s are for comparison
Oh.
for that month.
Okay, I've had a long day.
it's okay.
6 hours of review and stuff.
Oh, God.
Wasn't business plan, was it?
Yeah. Non-stop, we made doing it.
Fire department did the
That's good.
dunk tank.
Oh, yeah, that's
Downtown as well,
Yeah.
and it was quite interesting because they got the majority of the those who saw it the last time and had a pretty significant leak, so now they've got the leak pretty much under control. And to be completely honest, it was the first time it had really crystal clear water in it, so
It was
first
nice.
time in a long time.
Nice to have it where it was, because it was being used
Yes.
constantly. It was never at a standstill.
I was signed up for a shift at 1 o'clock, and they had enough people wanting to do it, but they didn't need me. So,
Oh.
Where was it at this time?
It was right at 9
Brewery.
line there with all the food
Oh,
trucks
okay,
and
okay,
everything,
good.
so there was
Yeah.
a ton of people there. It was so busy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend most of the stuff because I had a
Swimming party.
swimming party. Yeah.
yeah, they said that they brought in a couple $100 from it. No, it was mostly kids again, and they had a pretty good. Yeah, it, like Judy said, it pretty much ran nonstop from was it 11:30 to
It was-
about 1:30, almost 2.
I think it was, two, at least
Yeah,
two.
when they started draining the water
Yeah.
out of it, so.
Because there's a fire hydrant leak, so I just know they're draining that.
Finding out that about 3 of us have spent the most time in that thing in the last 5 years, so it was very interesting being a spectator and not being in it, so, yeah, it was really good. Which it turned out well, because apparently it was really cold this year, too.
Okay. Any thoughts or questions for Peters? Okay. If not, somebody wish to move the. Okay. Thank you, Lyle. Any discussion on Lyle's motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor? It is carried unanimously. Okay, need adjournment. Oh, Barbara.
Missing Will there.
Okay, those in favor? And it is carried. We are officially.
Okay, I'm just going to stop the broadcast.
Okay, the question I have.